Welcome to the Insightful Player Podcast with your host, Chrissy Carew. In each episode, Chrissy interviews NFL players and other professional athletes to help transform our culture to be inclusive, kinder, and more loving. We hope to turn everyone into insightful players in their own lives. Chrissy is also the author of the book Insightful Player, featuring over a dozen stories where football pros lead a bold movement of hope. You can learn more about her book, Chrissy's coaching programs, and more episodes of this show at www.theinsightfulplayer.com. You can also watch other episodes on YouTube and listen through all the major podcast platforms. Now, here's the host of Insightful Player, Chrissy Carew.
The entire Insightful Player podcast initiative is dedicated to the late Tom Constantino. Tom Constantino was my PR consultant. He was over the moon fabulous. He introduced me to so many people, including in the sports world where I didn't know anyone. He really introduced my book to the entire world, and he always inspired me. He was so dedicated, and he encouraged me so often, especially when I got down. He was really an exceptional human being, and Insightful Player wouldn't have made it to where it is now if it wasn't for Tom. So Tom, up there in heaven, I just want you to know you're going to live in my heart forever, and I am forever grateful for you. Thank you.
Hello, welcome to the first ever Insightful Player podcast. My name is Chrissy Carew, and I'm a business and life coach, and I've been coaching since the mid-1990s. And I created Insightful Player back in 2009 because I was worried sick about kids. I was worried sick about role models falling down left and right. So I reached out to some NFL players and partnered with them and to share their personal messages of hope because they wanted kids to recognize and really understand the tremendous obstacles they overcame. And against all odds, they reach their dreams. And they want kids and adults alike to realize they too can reach their dreams and create a life that's really fulfilling for them, filled with love, regardless of your situation. So what we're going to do is we're going to shower you with some interviews with some NFL players and later other athletes and people who are insightful players in their lives to share their own personal messages of hope. And we want you to join us because we believe in the immense power of the human spirit and the profound goodness in humanity, in all of us, in the courage within your spirit. And we need to come together. We need to start listening to each other. We need to start looking for the goodness in each other. And we need to acknowledge each other rather than, get sucked into all the violence, the anger, the bigotry, the bullying. It's just awful. And it's not who we are. It really isn't. So we're going to ask you to join in on us. We don't know what that looks like yet. You're going to have to teach us that. And let us know what ideas you have to transform our world. And that's what this is all about. We're here to help transform our world to be more inclusive, to be kinder, and much more loving. And I think we're all up for it. And it's now. I think life, God, is calling on us now to step up. And I think we all have to step up in ways that are a stretch for us. And doing this podcast is a stretch for me. And, we can't let all this violence and hatred bring out the worst in us. It even brought out the worst in me. I was angry all the time. So I decided I wanted to be a small part of the solution. So I hope you'll join me. I'm really excited about this. And, let us know what you think, what ideas you have, and who do you want to see on this podcast, okay? We're going to have a wonderful guest today, Rashied Davis. Rashied Davis is one of the very first Insightful players I interviewed back in 2009. And he's in my book, Insightful Player, Football Pros Lead a Bold Movement of Hope. And his story is unbelievable. He's one of the most humble people I've ever known. He's very courageous. He's very giving. He has an amazing foundation, Saturday Place, beautiful family. And all he does is give. And he's the epitome of love. So you're going to meet him. and he's going to share his personal messages of hope. So thank you for coming to our first podcast, and please continue with us and let us know what you think. What do you want? Let us know what you're doing, okay? Because we need you. We need you. We all need you, and we can do this. You know, I think love is much stronger than hate. What do you think? All right, let's begin. Okay, so as I mentioned, we have a wonderful very first guest on our Insightful Player first ever podcast. We have Rashied Davis. I met Rashied back in 2009 when I first created the Insightful Player Initiative. And he's one of the most inspiring people I've ever met. He's done all kinds of things in his life. I'd like to read you the first, not read you, I would like to share with you the first thing he told me when I was on the interview with him, which made me cry. He had to dodge bullets in his home. He lived in a really tough neighborhood in South L.A. His father was murdered when he was only 8. His mom and his aunt brought him up. There were drugs in his neighborhood all around him. Some of his family members were in gangs, but he came out on the other side. He had a lot of people who loved him, and he just has just tremendous faith in God that really helped him get to where he is today. And he cares so much about you, and he has so much about kids. He formed this amazing foundation, Saturday Place, with his beautiful wife, Diana. And I'm going to let him tell you about it. It's really inspiring. He started off in the Arena Football League with the Sabercats. And while he was working with the Sabercats, he worked at Best Buy, you know, and he just has a tremendous work ethic. And then he was signed by the Chicago Bears. And he did a great job there as a wide receiver. And while he was there, Rashied, you have to let me know if this is true. It was he then went on to the Detroit Lions, but you had the logo on your head. You had your hair dyed and colored. Was that the Bears logo? Was that the Bears? Was that the Bears or the Lions?
I had my hair painted in several different several different things. Yes, one of them was the Bears logo. One time it was both Bears logo. One was the actual bear, right, and that was on the right side of my head. The other was the Bears C.
Oh, okay.
On both sides of my head. And then at one point I had a cancer ribbon in the back of my head for Cancer Awareness Month. I also, when I was in Detroit, I painted my hair red.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, I had a fire in I had a mohawk and my hair was red. Yeah, I was slightly crazy toward the end of my career. I had to figure out to get up, wake up in the morning for practice.
Oh, that's great. So what you'll all learn about Rashied is, in addition to being such a giving, loving leader in our world, he is a lot of fun. He is a really lot of fun and a one big kid. So can you send me some of those photos? I'd like to include those.
I will. Most of them can, if not all of them, can be found on the internet with just a simple Google search, though.
Oh, okie doke. I'll do that. I'll Google.
Yeah, so that's typically how I get them. I don't own them.
All right. All right. That sounds great. So again, it's so happy to have you a part of this reigniting of the Insightful Player Initiative. And as I mentioned in their intro, it's because we want to put, more inclusion, love, and kindness into our world, because we're in, my old friend Frank Gorman used to say, we're in deep sneakers right now. But if we all pull together, we can really transform our culture, but we all have to do it together. So thank you for coming to being our very first guest on the Insightful Player podcast. I am just delighted. Rashied.
Thank you for having me. I'm honored and blessed that you care so much about me and my story. So thank you so much for that.
Oh, you're easy to love, that's for sure. So tell me, in your words, what do you see? Where do you see the world now, and where do you think we can all take it?
To be honest, I think everything is cyclical, right? As a Black man in America, I mean, it's not a whole lot different for me, other than the fact that I have a lot more freedoms and opportunity than I would say my parents and ancestors and all of that, right? So I'm blessed in that respect. But there's still a lot of hate, and there always has been a lot of hate in the world, which I don't jive with, first of all, but I don't fully understand why uh, human beings are the way that we are at times. So I do struggle with that personally. I struggle with God. I struggle with humanity. I struggle with myself in that we're not all that great to each other historically. Throughout history, I used to be a history major before I graduated with a degree in sociology. So I've always loved history, and I can't say that I know everything about history and everything about our past, but what I do know is historically we as a species have not been great to each other. When you look at wars and you look at racism and you look at sexism and you look at power struggles and you look at all of these things, it's not new, as the Bible says. There's nothing new under the sun. It's just in a new form. It just has come back in a new form.
It certainly has, and it really seems to be stronger and more prevalent. And back to the whole racism thing. Back to the whole George Floyd incident. I thought I understood it more. I did. My parents and my mom was a civil rights leader, and she was very shy and sweet, but she was still a very strong civil rights leader. And so I thought I really understood it, but I didn't know what I didn't know. And I know a lot of people felt that way too. It was just so heartbreaking, and it was so motivating to see all those people take a stand for it. And
Mm-hmm.
now I think there's an opening in the world where we can make a huge difference and transform that, so we can all be more loving. Like, there's been so much focus on the differences in people, and what we're all about, and with Insightful Player, and I know what you're all about, is let's look at what we have in common, as well as let's appreciate the difference, respect the difference. And I know you're someone that's really, really passionate about the importance of listening. And nobody's listening. Everyone's yelling at each other or talking at each other, and it's so tough. It really is. And like you, I feel like I at times lose faith in humanity, and I've decided I'm not going to do that anymore. And we have to look for the best within each other. And you do that every day. And look what you started with your foundation even. Please tell us all about your Saturday Place and how that all began. I remember the story before you started it, and you were so passionate about helping young kids that are in tough neighborhoods, having a tough time, didn't have the advantages.
I did it. That was 11 years ago, going on 12 years. We're going into our 12th year. Yeah. Wow. Saturday Place itself is an enrichment program for third and fourth grade Chicago public school students performing a year below grade level. Our aim is to get them at or above grade level by the time they leave our program. And our mission statement is to teach students how to overcome obstacles to success through inspiration, preparation, and discipline. And we've been doing it for 11 years. It started as a thought and a dream in my head. I would say that I was naive in what it would take to do what we started, what it would cost to develop. Could I have been overcharged? That's a possibility. Yes, I could have been overcharged for what was given. That being said, looking at the bright side and the positive of it, Saturday Place was born out of it. And just like the situation that you speak of and what we're dealing with now, I believe that all of it is necessary, right? Like growing pains. When I was a kid, I distinctly remember having knee problems. And my mom took me to the doctor to figure out, well, why I was having knee problems. And my legs were hurting. I was playing sports all the time, on the concrete streets, like never really organized, but just out with my friends and whatnot. So I was always running the streets. So I thought it was because I was playing on concrete and bad shoes and all of this other stuff, something like that. And when I got into the doctor's office, they did x-rays, and the doctor pulled up the x-ray, sat me on the table, and he said, "Hey, look at this. You see all of this white here? These are you're growing. What you're having is growing pains. This means that your muscle, your bones are growing." And I was really short. I've been short my whole life. I'm 5'10" now. So I'm about average height for a man now. But when I was a kid, I was below everything, below in weight, below in height. I was always the smallest kid. Mm-hmm. And so when he said that, I distinctly remember it vividly, and this smile coming on my face. And I was just like almost clicking my heels when I was leaving the doctor's office. And so what that reminds me of and shows me is that, like, with all of what we're going through, we need, I don't want to say we need it. I'll say it's part of the growth of a nation. It's part of a growth of a society. The pains that we're going through are part of the growth process, right? But we also need to understand, like you, that there are positives. Like myself, there's positives in all of it, and we need to focus on those things too. We need to continue to focus on doing good work, as the Bible says, don't grow weary in doing good, and we have to do the good work, as well as suffer through or endure through the negative, and so with Saturday Place, I want to say, were there some negatives at the beginning? Yeah, there were some things, and and not all of it was caused by the people that I was working with. A lot of it was caused by myself and my naivete, not understanding the world that I was getting myself into. But of that, great things, we've helped over 600 kids, so I want to also thank that group that I worked with. I won't share any names or anything like that because I don't want any bad press for them. But they know who they are, and if they ever see this, hopefully they smile from what I'm saying. So it's been a blessing. All of it has been a blessing. Saturday Place has been phenomenal. The kids are growing. We've had struggles just like everybody else when it comes to COVID and how COVID affected us. And we're coming out of that, luckily blessed that I have great board members. Saturday Place has great board members, not myself. But Saturday Place has great board members and great donors who have been there from the beginning. And, I want to say thank you to the companies like Related Midwest and Lynn Lease and S Mechanical and all of these companies, and the people, the Don Bernackes, the Burt Brants, the Ramadan Damudis, the all of the people that have been there from the beginning to help with Saturday Place. The Canning Foundation for giving us the seed money plus more money over time. I've been tremendously blessed. The organization has been tremendously blessed by all of these people. The Rebecca Dars, I'll be remiss if I don't mention Rebecca in this as well. So.
Well, again, there you are.
I know I'm all over the place, but
no, you're not. I mean, it's forgiveness. I mean, you have forgiveness, and you're taking full responsibility, and you learn so much from the lessons all the time.
One more person I have to, Lizelle Tolentino, not one more person. There's a lot of people I got to thank, but she no longer is with Saturday Place, but she was everything to Saturday Place. And we wouldn't be here without her, and John Wallace as well. So
Excellent. If you think of more names as we go along.
Hyatt. Hyatt as well. Hyatt Hotels organization has been great too.
Well, I want to go back to the Hyatt for a second, but first I just want to just acknowledge you because you're so willing to learn lessons, even in knee deep and stuff. So you built a lot of resilience, and which started as a kid from everything you went through, and it's so important. That's always been a goal of yours to help kids with that, as well as mine, and the whole forgiveness thing. And I think there's a lot of forgiveness we need to all have here in our world with everything that's going on. And one of my mentors is the late Barbara Marx Hubbard. And she always said, crisis is an evolutionary driver. And I think, right now we're certainly in crisis, and we have the opportunity to really evolve right now. I think there's an opening if we all jump in together, and just like you are with Saturday Place. And I remember when you were telling me some of the kids you were working with they lived really close to the Great Lakes in Chicago, but never even saw them. They were just a couple of blocks away. And I remember how you took the kids to the Hyatt and taught them how to, which fork to use and spoon, and how to sit and eat a meal. I mean, you did so much, and I'm sure you're still doing so much. It's just really remarkable, the impact you had on these children.
I hope so. I won't say I taught them how to use their forks and knives. I still have trouble myself with fork and knife and where they go. That being said, the Hyatt organization, Hyatt Hotels, specifically Hyatt Regency downtown, has always been a phenomenal strategic partner with Saturday Place. And yes, that was one of the story you speak of, was one of the catalysts to me getting involved with working with children in Chicago, because that for me was appalling to hear that a lot of these kids lived a mile, 2 miles, 3 miles from a lake, one of the greatest wonders of the world, right? This huge lake, and they had never seen it in person, heard about it, saw it on TV. But not only them, I was told, not only them, but some of their parents and grandparents and whatnot have never seen the lake in person. They've never been to the lake. And that was just appalling. And so I wanted to do something about that. And that's where one of the things that started to drive me and where we were going to go with Saturday Place. And one of the best pictures that we have of Saturday Place and the kids was when we partnered with Loyola for a time. We were partnered with Loyola University in Chicago, and they were graciously giving us classroom space. And through one of our teachers and program directors at the time, and the very first day of class during that partner, the first initial beginnings of that partnership, the classroom that they gave us was right on the lake.
Oh, nice.
So when we walked into the building, when we got off the bus, our children got off the bus and they walked into the building, there was a big wall of windows that showcased the lake, and the views from that building. And all of the kids were just in awe, and they were standing at the window looking out. And someone had the beautiful or wonderful idea to take that picture, to snap that picture. And it was just like a full circle moment for us. It's almost going to make me cry now thinking about this thought,
me too,
that, God put in my head, and the relationships and the connections and the stories that people shared with me, and how that had become something that was now, it was no longer a thought. It was now reality. And now these kids were getting a chance to see something that they maybe never would have seen. And my hopes are that if they don't learn anything in the classroom with us, that something within their experience with us inspires them, right? If they never get back to grade level, in a traditional sense, that something within their time with us inspires them to show them that they can be whatever they dream of being, whatever they decide to be, and it's possible for them. So
yeah, that was such a beautiful moment for you that I'm sure you'll treasure forever. And it's so true that you helped give those kids hope. And now, with the way the world is right now, there are so many people without hope, and they can't see beyond the struggle because there is so much struggle here.
yeah.
And so, do you have any thoughts about that, of where we could take that, how we could dive in, how our viewers could help out right now?
Be the love that you want to receive.
Rashied, that was great. Thank you very much. And everyone, he'll be back next week. And he's going to discuss how can we gain hope when things are really tough. I want you to really tune in and think about that question for yourself as well. And this week, why don't you go out and lift up someone that could use a lift, and just make them smile. Okay? Until next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching and listening to the Insightful Player Podcast with your host, Chrissy Carew. Chrissy is also the author of the book Insightful Player, featuring over a dozen stories where football pros lead a bold movement of hope. You can learn more about her book, Chrissy's coaching programs, and more episodes of the show at www.theinsightfulplayer.com. We hope to turn everyone into insightful players in their own lives. You can also watch other episodes on YouTube and listen through all the major podcast platforms. Thank you for your comments, reviews, and sharing the show with others.